It rained a little bit last night, got the trails muddy. Um, Now I went for a ride this morning, and now my bike's dirty, so I gotta clean the bike. Um, Clean the chain, clean the derailleur, clean your sprockets. I'll show you what I do to clean it. It's pretty simple. Do it every 30 to 100 miles, depending on how dirty it gets, and your chain and drivetrain will last a good long time. I've probably got 20,000 miles on some of my other bikes with the stock chain. I'll show you how to check the chain too for wear. All right, let's get at it. First thing I do is I get the chain cleaner. This is Maxima Cleanup Chain Cleaner. I like it, works good. I'll show you how I clean it, and maybe it'll work for you. Alright, I like to put it in a middle sprocket in the back, and that way you can spin it backwards without it climbing all over the place. So you just spray it gently, don't have to spray a whole lot. Get a little on the chain, a little on the sprockets, a little on the idler sprockets, and a little up here on the chain ring. Alright, once you get some of that on there, you get yourself a little brush. And I just like to knock some of the bigger pieces of dirt off with this. Probably not 100% necessary, but why not be thorough? Hit the sides. The other side. The chain ring. Get your sprockets. Rub-a-dub-dub. The pulley, idler pulley sprockets. Whatever you call these things. Not 100% sure. Alright, so we're done with that. Next up, I get, this is just an old Windex bottle, but inside is S100 Cycle Cleaner. This stuff is great. So basically, you just put a light coating on the entire bike. Any place there's dirt, get a little on there. And you don't need much of this stuff. Alright, then we very gentle mist. Just rinse the bike off. Chain, sprockets. kind of tell this will be like a milky, the water dripping off the chain sprocket will be kind of milky looking for a little bit. And then the more you rinse it, the clearer it gets. You want the water to be clear. That means you got all the old lube and all the old grease off the chain. And it's ready for a fresh coat of lube. Alright, now you can either let the bike sit for a couple hours and dry, or you can help it along with some compressed air. You can use a hair dryer or a heat gun. If you're going to use a hair dryer or heat gun, be careful not to spend too much time on anything plastic, like these covers for your pivot bearings, cables. Avoid that. Just warm up your chain and everything very lightly toast them. I'm going to use an air compressor. Basically, you just want to dry off the chain ring, sprockets, derailleur, and all your pivots, because that's what we're going to lube up. Okay, before we lube the chain, we're going to check the chain for wear. So with this particular tool, you put these two in the chain. Stick it down in as far as you can get it. Like so. And then this end, you try to stick it down in the chain. If it goes in the chain, it's worn. You've got to replace the chain. These have directions on them. Not too hard to use. I suggest picking one of these up. If you replace your chain when it says to replace it, then you won't have to replace your chain rings or sprockets. If you wait until your chain is stretched too far, then you'll find when you put a new chain on it, it's going to skip over the top of your smaller sprocket. So you're going to end up having to replace them. And you may have to replace your chain ring. So stay on top of it, and it'll last longer, be cheaper that way. Alright, next up, got some DuPont Chain Saver. It's a wax. It goes on kind of wet and sticky, but then it dries to a waxy like finish, and it does not attract dirt. It's the best stuff in the world. spin your chain backwards and spray some on it. Go. Now I found ideally you want to let that sit up for an hour or two before you ride, so put it on like an hour before you ride. Alright, next up we got Remington oil. It's a Teflon based oil. It dries to a Teflon slick finish and it's not sticky. So you want to hit all your pivot points on your derailleur. You want to hit there's little O-rings on your cassette on the outside and the inside. You want to just spritz that a little bit to keep that O-ring in good shape. Helps keep the dirt out. So spin your chain backwards and just spray a little bit on each end here. Alright, you want to hit your pulley wheels. Just a little spritz there. Just spin it backwards. Alright, just use all your pivot points. Get that jockey wheel, put your cable rods on. Just any part of the derailleur that moves, get a little oil in there. And I like to hit each of my suspension pivots, mostly just to keep the seals in good shape. There's a couple here too. Be careful on brake rotor side, you don't want to coat your rotor in oil. It's bad. And I like to get my pedal seals. Now leave your shock bushings dry. Don't bother putting any in there. Alright, so that's it. It's all clean, ready for another ride. So if you do this maintenance every 30 to 100 miles, your drivetrain will last forever.